Government, subsidize me. I dare you. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony, I have a question
Jeff.
for you.
Okay.
Do you think you could survive? You could last? Or maybe the better question is, how long do you think you could last inside the quietest place on Earth?
Oh, let's see. Long time? Long time? I don't know. Well, so, okay. Like, let me think about what that means. Quietest place on Earth. I'm going to think about it now. So quietest place on Earth means to me, so we're getting rid of all, I've lived in cities most of my life. So we're getting rid of city noise.
Yes.
We are getting rid of even like when I've gone and slept in the country, or in the forest, I've gone camping. There's the sound of wind. There's the sound of animals. There's the sound of air. Here's the thing. I think if it gets quieter than that, you get to a point where you can hear the things that your body is doing.
That's right.
And so I think if I went to the quietest place on Earth, if there was a chamber somewhere that was completely as quiet as you can humanly get a thing, I think I would lose my goddamn mind, not super quickly, but fairly quickly. Because can I tell you something? I don't like to hear or feel my heartbeat. I don't like it. I know some people find it comforting. I don't like it. I've always found it creepy.
You don't like to even just for a moment, you don't want to feel your own heartbeat? Like if you put your hand over your heart, you don't like the feeling just for a second?
If I put my hand over it where my heart's supposed to be, sure.
Take your pulse?
Yeah, taking my pulse is fine. Like that sort of thing is fine. But like on a normal thing, like, okay, like if I'm like laying in bed and there's like a baby or a dog or a significant other, and they want to put their head on my chest to go to sleep.
Right. Yeah.
They simply cannot. It will bug me out to hear my heartbeat that much.
You say no, baby.
I
do not, baby. Do that.
I will just push a baby off the bed. If I get creeped out like that, I will just immediately, and babies are small, I can just right off to the other side of the room.
Baby, you can be on my left side or right side. Where's your heart? I don't know. Right side. Right side. You can be on my right side, but not over my heart, baby. Not
over my heart.
Gonna allow it. Well, this is the question that an article in the New York Magazine attempts to tackle. I found this article to be quite entertaining, actually. This is an article written by Katie Weaver.
Nailed it for our first B-roll of the new year. Never mind if you're not watching the video version, it doesn't matter. Go on.
Oh. It's written by Katie Weaver, and it is about Katie Weaver attempting to enter the quietest place on Earth and break the record for staying in there the longest.
Now I'm looking at this place. It's a very unique looking place. And I do recall seeing this place before. And I remember that the world record for this place, if I remember correctly, is like under an hour. It's like 45 minutes. And then somebody was just like banging on the door, get me out of here.
Well, that is the rumor. So this is what is known as an anechoic chamber. And an anechoic chamber is a room that is built to be quiet beyond the level of human hearing. So there is a floor to human hearing, which is we note at about 0 decibels, which is below which humans cannot hear anything.
Holy shit! Did we measure something in a practical way? Did we create
yeah, right. 0 is the floor.
Wait, did we create a practical unit of measurement with the decibel?
I guess. It turns out maybe we did.
God damn, we did it. After all these years, we finally did it. It's not like, well, it's a foot. Why is it a foot? Well, because it's what I do. You ever seen an average foot? That's about an average foot. What does that mean? Or like even a meter. It's like, well, why is that a meter? I don't know, man. Meter it.
Or Fahrenheit. It's like negative 32 is freezing, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, I'll say this. I'll say this. The Celsius does make a little a good amount of sense if it freezes, but it's water centric, which I also never like. That's got nothing to do with me. That's got to do with water. Like, so it freezes at 0, it boils at 100. What does that mean to me? Well, I want to know, what's the temperature of water that a human being wants to drink? Start it there.
Just the perfect drinking temperature should be 0.
Yeah. Or like swimming or bathing. I don't know. Probably not bathing because I like a nice warm bath, but you know what I mean? Like, I guess.
Make it about me.
We're the ones making the measurements and we're the ones that are going to be measuring things. I'm not making it for a duck to measure shit. I'm not saying like now the duck can also measure things.
Yeah. No, you're right. The duck can measure whether water is frozen or not. So like screw the duck is what you're saying.
The duck's not measuring anything.
Well, in this case, 0 decibels is about the floor of human hearing, but we can create spaces that are actually quieter than that are measured in negative decibels.
That makes sense.
And there is a place in Minnesota that you can go that is called Orfield Laboratories that has one of these anechoic chambers. And you can actually pay money to go inside and see how long you can last. Now, this thing that you brought up about 45 minutes evidently is a bit of an urban legend because recently on TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and in the social spaces, social medias, this rumor started that it was dangerous or somehow will drive you insane to stay in this chamber for more than 45 minutes. There was an article on the Daily Mail that said, you will not be able to survive more than 45 minutes in this chamber.
Number one, anybody who quotes the Daily Mail deserves to be thrown into the sea. The Daily Mail is not a newspaper.
Agreed.
Number two, I found out recently, and this is very unsettling to me, that 40% of Gen Z, when they need to search something, will search it on TikTok instead of Google.
Oof.
Because they want it explained to them by somebody that they,
dancing? Somebody dancing?
Sure. They want like a nice in-depth. There are a lot of people that are doing nice in-depth explainer videos on things on TikTok. Yeah. However, I feel like the problem with that is just because a video is popular doesn't mean it's correct. And so when you search for something like an anechoic chamber on TikTok, I'm sure you're going to get your, I'm sure Hank Green pops up in there somewhere, right? Hank Green pops up everywhere.
I hope Hank Green's in there somewhere.
But is he the number 1 video or is he the number 10 video after 10 videos you watch that tell you silent chamber will drive you insane?
Right.
And so I can see how this would this would become, but I didn't hear that like the person was literally driven insane. I heard after 45 minutes, they simply felt uncomfortable and they wanted to leave. Yeah.
The full, the full rumor was that there was a cash prize for someone to go into this particular place, this Orfield Laboratories. Pardon me.
Which had a large wrought iron fence in front of it.
Yes.
And it's on a mountain out on the side of town. And it's like, I heard old Dr. Orfield went insane. His daughter was sensitive to sound and couldn't take it when they started using electric tractors. When they started using gas-powered tractors and farming machines, she could hear them from miles away. And so he had to build her a room, old Dr. Orfield.
She died in that room. She went insane. Some say her spirit still walks these walls, but you can't hear the sounds of her screaming.
Honestly,
the room is so quiet.
I hear that her spirit walks the halls, but in a very respectful way. To where like if you can read and you're not going to hear him like pacing around, like she's not a bad neighbor as far as ghosts go.
She's just hanging out.
Yeah,
hanging out.
I heard she screams, but like into a ghost pillow because she knows that there are other people that share the walls. Like
She's respectful for people that are sensitive to loud noises.
Yeah.
Real respectful ghost. No, so there was a rumor that you would win $7 million if you could last, and it's all false. It's all false.
It's all bullshit. Why would this recording studio be giving you $7 million?
Well,
it's a recording studio, right? It's not like an academic research facility or something.
Well, it started out as a recording studio in the 70s and 80s. It was a recording studio. The building in which this thing is housed. In fact, Prince recorded there. There's some major records were recorded in this
everywhere,
place.
though. If you were on a bicycle with Prince, you would still have to check and make sure he didn't have a mic on you.
Do you have any idea how much I would want to be on a bicycle with Prince?
The little bicycle built for two, just you and the purple one.
Me and Prince. I've dreamed of that for so long, Anthony. It's just never going to be now. All my dreams shattered the day Prince passed away. Anyway, Bob Dylan and Prince both recorded in this place. And this guy, Stephen J. Orfield, bought this place, this old recording studio, and he turned it into a design research facility. And separately from that, he also bought this anechoic chamber.
Okay.
It was on sale. So this thing
like
had
on Craigslist?
Basically, yes. It was built for products like the Sleep Number mattress and the Whirlpool dishwashers. It was built to analyze how things can be made quieter. They would put a product inside this room, and they would test it, and they would try to make it quiet. And they would have very sensitive measuring, to determine how they could improve the product to eliminate, banging and clunking in your Whirlpool dishwasher.
Sure. Okay, that's kind of cool.
It was functional. It's a functional thing. So, but he bought it. And honestly, he only was able to get it because no other company was willing to put up with the hassle of like disassembling it and moving it. But he hires a bunch of college kids from the University of Chicago football team.
Okay.
They disassembled the chamber. They loaded into 3 semi-trucks. And in 1994, he reassembles the chamber inside this building that used to be a recording studio. And he tries to use it for the same kind of thing where he's going to, sell it out to design clients, people, they're doing these consumer products and want them to be quieter.
Okay.
Well, meanwhile, he also goes, hey, it's kind of a strange sensation to walk into this super quiet room. So he opens it up to the public on Friday afternoons to anybody who will donate $20 to a local food pantry.
Oh,
pretty cool. Yeah,
that's nice.
Pretty cool. But word starts to spread. And so many people, he said about 5 years of letting people do that. It gets so big that he's like, this is a money-making opportunity. I'm not going to just give the money to the food pantry. He goes, his quote is, after about 5 years of giving
it full, baby. It's Orfield time. Where's Orfield snacks?
Cut. Yeah.
Orfield's looking in the Orfield pantry, and Orfield's not seeing any Fig Newtons.
Exactly.
Where's my Star Crunch?
Time to wet my beak in the pantry. You know what I'm saying?
All these homeless people are getting the Little Debbies. Where's the Little Debbies for Orfield?
His quote is, after about 5 years of giving everything away for free, we decided we're done with that. So
fuck yeah.
They were done with that.
All right.
And now, because of this crazy, the fame on YouTube and TikTok and everything.
Right.
Now the fee is $600 an hour. $600 an hour.
We call that making Orfield money.
It's Orfield money, baby. So the record had been 2 hours.
Is that per person? Can you bring a group?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I think you just rent the room.
I wouldn't spend $600 for me personally for the hour.
60 of us at $10 a piece.
Yeah. And
party,
because
silent party.
I think about going to I went to the Broad Museum and I saw one of those Yayoi Kusama infinity rooms, right? And, everybody takes the videos of themselves in the infinity room and they're just like, ooh, the magic and the quiet and the splendor. And you're in there and you're thinking, and what they don't tell you is you get a literal 60-second timer in the Infinity Room. So everybody's talking about all this life-changing shit that happened to them in the Infinity Room. I'm not trying to say that they're all lying, but I'm trying to say they may be embellishing a little bit. Because I got into the Infinity Room, I started taking a video, and by the time I was like, wow, this is really cool, they were like, gunk, 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 gunk. Get the fuck out the Infinity Room. You paid your $20 and you've had your Infinity. And I didn't bother to explain to them how 60 seconds of infinity isn't really anything. That's literally, you can measure it. It's 60 seconds. So
right. A duck could measure it.
No, the duck's not measuring shit, dude.
Oh, now, okay, I keep getting that.
I think I would want a couple minutes in the quiet room. But I don't think I would want like
I see what you're saying.
I don't want like a Krasinski amount of time in the quiet room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. You don't want to be in the quiet place.
No, it's a room, not the place.
Right. So I would see what you're saying. I was thinking you share the cost and you all go in at the same time as a have a party.
No, because I don't want to hear your heart. I don't want to, like, that's the thing is like, I feel like
you don't want to hear my heart
and like my weird breathing and like, you know, the boogers in my nose. Like that's
you want to daisy chain it. You want to go in one after another. You want to pass the baton of silence.
Serial, not parallel is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. I got you. No, that's much smarter. So you get your 2 minutes and we're all hanging out outside waiting for Anthony to come out to get my 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like,
whoa, that's cool. Wild. We did it, you know? I would even do like 10. I would even do like, like 10 people at $60 and do 6 minutes each. I think that's enough time to quietly go insane. You know? So for your $600, you get into this quiet room. I'm assuming all of the things that you can hear, but give me an example of how do they describe what it's like when your ears attune to the quietness?
I want to work up to that. I want to set the stage a little bit better than we have so far before we get to that, because this Katie Weaver.
You assume that people don't understand at this point, quiet room.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I gotta paint the picture of the quiet room.
Yeah. No, this room is fucking quiet.
Like super quiet. But I don't think you even realize how quiet we're talking here.
Yeah, okay. No, go ahead. I clearly don't understand the concept. Go ahead.
So Katie Weaver, this writer, is sets out to break the record because the record was 2 hours, but she was not certain whether the record was because somebody couldn't survive more than 2 hours or they didn't want to pay more than $1,200.
No, that just sounds like somebody paid their money and was like, that was cool. That's all the time I want to spend in there.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's one of those things where the person didn't even know they were setting a record, if I'm honest.
Right.
That's like Forrest Gump telling you he just started running until he didn't feel like running anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was all I paid for. So I left after 2 hours, you know? Yeah. I think that's so Katie went in, bought the 3 hours and said, I'm going to do 3 hours. I'm going to set the record in the
fucking New York Times money. All right, Katie.
Yeah, New York Times money. Exactly. All right. So here's my setup for what this place is. Now, first, an anechoic chamber. Okay. How did we create these things? Like who figured out how to make what are the mechanics of making the quietest room on the planet?
Well, I can tell you based on this photo that we have of it, you literally watched Tarsem Singh's The Fall. or the Cell. Really any Tarsem Singh movie you can watch.
Yeah.
And then you build something out of a BDSM nightmare and there are no echoes in it.
Right. Yes.
Is that correct?
Because exactly. So the way sound works is, we almost never hear something that hasn't bounced off of something already, right? Yeah. We don't, bouncing off the walls, the lamp in your room, whatever it is, that's going to affect the way the sound waves are interpreted by your
Even our voices are coming up from our larynx and our vocal cords through the chamber of our mouth and our throat. And, everything is a reflection or an echo or a wave.
Exactly. And outdoors, it's less so, but you have more sound pollution, right? The sound waves leave your mouth if you're speaking and they go off until they fade away. They're not bouncing off of things per se if you're in a big, empty field or whatever. Right. But there's much more sound pollution because you're hearing, birds and leaves rustling and wind and all that stuff.
Dude, you ever scream in a desert?
No, have
you ever screamed in like this is a question. Have you ever screamed?
I don't go to those kind of parties, Anthony.
I've been out in the middle of the desert once. No, I was just driving, and you can get out, You can get out of your car whenever you want. I don't know if anybody's told you that. You can just get out of your fucking car. Yeah. You don't need to be in your car.
On the road?
Yeah, you can just like get out of your fucking car and walk away. I don't know. You can just like, but like, you know, you can walk out into the middle of like, or if you go to like a Joshua Tree or any one of these like desert parks, you can just walk out into the middle of nowhere. But you walk out in the middle of nowhere, it's so quiet and you just scream. And you're so used to having your scream echo off of something. Yeah. Right? Like even if you scream in like a canyon or whatever, or you know, in the mountains, you scream and you hear yourself, you expect to hear like, hello, hello.
Right,
hello,
right.
Hello. You scream in a desert, it just goes nowhere. And especially because even the sand like absorbs more than it reflects. Right. Yeah. And so it's like you just scream and there's no echo to it. There's no real resonance to it. It just goes. It's gone.
I will also say Scream in a Desert is my favorite Bowie album.
Scream in a Desert's good. Scream in a Desert is really, really good. There were no bangers, right? Because that was the follow-up to Ziggy Stardust. And it was like you expected hit after hit after hit. And it was more like he needed an emotional and artistic reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, Modern Love. He was right back into like doing singles.
Right back into it. Yeah. I've actually experienced a little of that now that I live in a place that snows. Like if you go out at night in the snow and no one's out, there's no cars on the road because people are staying indoors and the snow is thick and it's still out of doors. There's still some noise pollution, but it's so much more quieter than I've ever experienced before. It's kind of that same kind of thing.
Yeah. It's wild.
Get this, Anthony. The origin story of the anechoic chamber is, as with most things we talk about science-wise, it goes back to the United States Army.
Fuck yeah.
The military had a plan in 1943.
Yeah, they did. And it was stupid. Tell me about it. Tell me about their
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Dude, it's so stupid.
Tell me about their shitty, idiotic plan.
In Operation Ghost Army.
Yes.
They wanted to create enormous speakers that they could play on the battlefield from far away that would make the enemy think there were hundreds of thousands of troops coming.
It was called Operation Coconut Shells, and they were going to clop them together as hard as they could and then make it sound like they were riding off into the distance. Yep. It was called Operation Staircase, and we would stand behind a kitchen counter and we would go down like we would make it look like we were walking downstairs, but we were really just bending our knees. Weren't. And the enemy army would think that we went down a secret staircase and they'd be like, well, they're done fighting today. There's nothing we can do.
It was Operation We've Got Your Nose.
And then we throw in the gas. We make them think that we've taken their noses off and they're safe. And then we throw in the gas and they go, oh no, they don't have my nose. What a shitty these fucking people.
You know, I guess desperation makes for some.
You know, they can't account. You know, the military can't account for like 40% of where their budget went. They just don't know. It's not even classified. It's not even something where they hand off a paper to you that says you're not allowed to know that. Yeah. They didn't even write up enough of those papers to cover their ineptitude. They literally just don't know where the money went, and we're giving them the lion's share of our gross domestic product. And they are like, what if we made a giant speaker?
Motherfuckers in 1943 were like not using rubber products. They were not eating sugar. They were rationing everything. They were sending spare bits of metal to the government.
No, please. Our great grandmothers with coupons for a loaf of bread. And it's like, well, if we don't spend it this week, we can have 2 loaves when your father comes to visit.
Meanwhile, they're like,
from his other family's house, and we just put up with that.
What if we just make big ass speakers?
Yeah.
We don't have enough troops. What if we make it the sound of troops? This is a real thing.
This is right after they said, listen, you can sell as much marijuana as you want. You just have to have the stamp that makes it legal to sell it. And then they're like, oh no, you don't have the stamp? And they're like, well, we don't know where to get the stamp. It's like, oh no, I guess we got to seize your marijuana. And then they're just sitting there getting high with all this marijuana that immigrants grew. And they're like, well, what's our plan? And they're like, a giant fucking speaker. And it's like, no, we can't go on break for another 40 minutes. It's like, no, this one's for work. This one's for work.
No, but then this is the next step of that plan. They're like, okay, giant fucking speaker. We're going to make it sound like there's hundreds of thousands of troops coming. And they're like, awesome. We can do it. With the U.S. military, we can do it. Where do we test it? What? Yeah, where do we test it? Because I don't know if you've seen America, but there's people that live there. And if we're playing the sound of troops approaching that loudly that you could hear it for miles around.
They can't find anywhere in America that's just land. What did I just say about getting out of your fucking car? Holy shit, these guys. Do you know what this was? This was a bunch of military guys that were like, well, where do we test the speaker? It's like, I don't know, but I'm not going to New Mexico, and I'm not spending another 6 months of my life in New Mexico. Yeah. It sucks. I didn't like it. I want to stay where I live. Thank you very much.
It's such a brilliant origin story because they're literally like, we want to blast the loudest sounds that terrify people. I don't know where we can do that. Let's build a room from which no sound can escape. So a bunch of military guys said,
but in order to test it, to test it on a scale that you need to test it, right? My next question to you is, how large does this anechoic chamber have to be? Because you have to be out of sight of the enemy army and make it sound like you're approaching, which means you need to be far away with a big ass fucking speaker. And you probably need to test sound like, what, half a mile away?
Oh, there's photos of this that look like the most 1950s thing you could buy. It looks like a science fiction movie from 1950. It has a 38-foot high ceiling. So what they did is they got those eggheads over at Harvard to get to work. The military brass is like, give me those eggheads at Harvard. And they called up Harvard University's electroacoustic laboratory. And they started testing nearly 1,000 different shapes and structures to figure out what is the most acoustically dampening shape we can devise. And what they came up with was this wedge, which is your Tarsum Singh room wedge.
Jeff, I just found a photo of the Air Force Research Labs 2018 anechoic chamber. This is the one that they use now. And they've got some Ant-Man and the Wasp shit in the middle of it. Like, I understand the anechoic chamber. It's this big, if you've seen soundproofing, it essentially looks like a soundproof room. Like maybe you've put up foam in your house for recording or something, but it's huge. But in the middle of it, they have this fucking sphere, this wireframe sphere that's connected to all these cords and cables that I swear to God, they're trying to trap a ghost.
Yes. That's what it looks like. Yes.
Is this the fucking speaker? No, this is from 2018. No. This is something new. This is some new dumb shit that we don't know about.
Yes.
Okay.
This is some new dumb shit. The 50s picture, I am going to send you right now.
Okay.
Because it's quite something. Let me find it. Here it is, coming right at you. Anyway, they found this wedge, and they built 19,000 of these 46-inch long fiberglass wedges.
Okay, so these are the things that are on the wall that look like what I think of as soundproof foam. You think about the zigzag soundproof foam that people get to record podcasts or something like that.
Right. But way bigger, way more intense. But yes, it's the same principle, general principle, right? It's this 38-foot high ceiling with wedges everywhere, and then there it is. There you go,
dude. Darth Vader is going to tell you he's your father in this room.
Yes.
Like there's
is that the most 1950s picture ever? These two guys in suit and ties standing in the center of this insane monstrosity of
they're wearing wool. You can tell they're wearing wool. They're uncomfortable. Yes. One of them is just standing in that way that 1950s people stand when there's a camera around and they're not used to it. And then the other one is like He looks like he's setting up a microphone for the Colgate Comedy Hour. They're both wearing glasses that only exist in the 1950s, and they're standing in front of a box speaker that's about half a human height. But the box speaker is suspended in this 40-foot room in the exact center of the wall, and they are on a catwalk suspended halfway up this room. What the fuckity fuck? And then all of the walls are obviously covered in these wedge shapes, these zigzag wedges that look like they're going to record the world's dorkiest fucking podcast. These guys look these look like Stephen Pod and Roger Cast. And they're about to invent this shit.
Invent the podcast. This is Operation Ghost Army right there, baby. That's Operation Ghost Army.
These two schmendricks? What the fuck?
So that's the origin story of the anechoic chamber.
Can I say that one of them has their eyes closed in the photo? This is the file photo, and one of them clearly has their eyes closed and they didn't retake it. They just, because they're the government and they're the military, they just let this poor guy go down in history for having his eyes closed in the middle of the fucking photo.
Maybe he's just listening real hard to the silence.
He's vibing.
Yeah.
He vibes to the sound of his boogers.
Yeah. Okay. So now you've got some kind of now the Orfield Labs version of this is basically the same exact thing. It's just smaller, right? Okay. 6-sided room, every surface covered in those wedges, those similar kind of wedges that protruding from literally every surface. Yeah. And there's a mesh, like a metal mesh that's suspended above the protruding wedges of the floor, so you can walk on that and go out into the middle of it.
Now, you don't get noises and reverberations from the metal mesh?
I think the whole point is you go out there and then you stay still, because they gave her
metal works. All right.
I know. I don't understand it either, but that's what it's described as having, is this mesh floor over the top that's a little.
I bet in that springy room, when that mesh moves even a little bit, to you it sounds like wah, 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 you know what I mean? Like it's like
yes. Now, so it's the same exact principle. This is supposedly has been measured at negative 9.4 decibels.
Okay. Now, Jeff, now that I understand what a quiet room is, can you tell me what I hear in the silence of the quiet room after I acclimate to it?
Now, everything you've talked about with hearing your own insides is what is advertised. That this is the notion, is that it is so quiet that sounds that our body usually discards, we don't register as hearing, even though they're happening all the time. Now, because it is so quiet in there, we hear the sound of our own heartbeat, the sound of our own circulatory system, the sound of our breathing.
Hate it.
So you literally hear your blood moving through your veins. This is the idea.
I don't even like during like a listen, I mean, not for nothing, but I meditate. I don't know if I brought it up before, but I meditate. It's not a big deal. I'm not like any better than anybody else, but I do meditate. But I don't even like the part of the beginning where like you breathe in and out and count your own breaths. I hate it. I used to hate even the sound of my own breath.
You sound really like you're really good at meditating.
I am the best at meditating, but okay. So I'm hearing circulatory system? Can I hear my blood in my veins like a vampire?
That's the idea, is you hear your blood. You hear your own blood.
What does your blood sound like?
Well, this is the question. So this is what...
I bet it's gushy.
What Katie Weaver, our intrepid author, was attempting to find out. Now, again, before I get to the big reveal, she did some prep. And I find this also extremely interesting. Now, because she had heard, if we
did sponsorships, that would have been like, before I get to the reveal, you would have just Casper mattressed everybody.
Yeah, no, we should.
That's what you're doing right now.
Patreon.com/we have concerns.
You're Casper mattressing everyone right now. But go ahead and tell us about the journey of Katie Weaver.
Let me Squarespace you for a second.
I feel like I'm reading a JR, like a fucking JR Martin George Rolkin
taking you on a journey, Anthony. I know you want to skip right to the lip of Mordor and throw the ring right in, but I'm taking you on a journey.
Tolkien and George R.R. Martin, and I'll tell you what. That's because I fall asleep during both of them. Now, J.R. Martin is not a good analogy because there's no ending.
Well,
I don't think any of his books have endings. I think they're all middle. I think every book is middle.
That's right. He has not written the ending books yet, so it's a bad analogy. I'll stick with the J.R. Tolkien, who actually has endings.
Okay,
anyway.
But I'm just saying, I feel like you're doing more of a George R.R. Martin right now. Like, I want to know what you hear in the foam room, and you're telling me 16 pages about what Katie Weaver ate for dinner. Like, I don't care what's embroidered on her shirt, dude. Tell me what's going on in the fucking room.
You're going to like the prep she did, because as you have indicated, the worry is that you will hear your own insides gurgling and you will go insane. So before she went into the room, the anechoic chamber, she went to a couple of experts in the field. She visited the Neuroscience Institute at Carnegie Mellon and talked to Dr. Barbara Shin Cunningham, who is the director there. I know that's probably a hyphenate, but I like to think that it's Barbara, quote unquote, Shin Cunningham. Like her nickname is the Shin. Yeah, the Shin.
Yeah, because she's so into studying quiet that you could hit her in the shin and she wouldn't scream.
That's right. That's how you know.
The experiment.
That's how you know she's a professional.
Yeah,
the old Shin Cunningham. Anyway, so she asks Dr. Barbara Shin Cunningham.
Yeah.
If becoming aware of your own body sounds will make you go insane. And this is the reply, quote, "No, unless you have a predilection for being insane to begin with, which, could be."
That's a fair science answer.
Yes.
Because listen, if you have a predilection towards some sort of insanity, who knows what's going to set you off?
Right.
If we don't know what your issues are, how do we know what's going to set you off? Maybe it's the sound of your blood gurgling round. I don't know. Maybe that's what drives you nuts.
Maybe that's what makes you go. Maybe that's the straw that breaks that particular camel's back.
I bet there are YouTube channels that Katie Weaver could have listened to that are just gurgling body sounds, 10 hours, ASMR, no thunder.
I'm going to find that. Gurglingbodysounds.org.
Gurgling body sounds ASMR, 10 hours long, no thunders, no scares.
No scares. So she also goes to see Dr. Oliver Mason, who's a researcher of psychotic disorders at the University of Surrey. And this guy's actually studied anechoic chambers, and he's put people into anechoic chambers to study what sensory deprivation does to people. So they can
think about what they've done.
Exactly. You
go into the anechoic chamber and you gurgle until you're ready to come out and apologize.
That's called Dr. Mason's office hours.
That's right.
Anyway, he says, quote, "Our brains are always trying to distinguish signal from noise anyway. And if there's no noise, they start seeing signal where there objectively isn't one." So
you go into the float chamber that people are always talking about and you start hallucinating. If there's no visible, you start seeing things like that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So he's like, you conjure phantom signals, you start getting hallucinations.
You hear
all that stuff is possible. Yeah.
You could hear phantom blood, dude.
Phantom blood gurgles. He said 20 minutes inside an anechoic chamber, people are usually fine, but more than 20 minutes is when you start tweaking. So she's going in for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But, okay, now this is my favorite part.
What is she allowed to bring with her?
She evidently brings in a notebook and a pen.
Okay.
So that's what she brings. And they give her a blanket if she wants to lay down. There's a chair and a blanket. So this Mason guy.
You can put a blanket over the metal mesh. This really is torture. Yeah. I know it's not supposed to be, but there's a reason there's a reason why the kids on TikTok look at this room and go, "That's probably torture room."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can see how the rumor started. But no, so the best part about this prep is that Dr. Oliver Mason, this guy who's in charge of how can I say that word? Psychotic disorders. He gives her a test. He gives her a series of questions to see if she's prone to have a psychotic break.
And
I'd like to ask you a number of these questions.
Okay, yes, and I'm totally open to it. I also just want to say that I love that our girl Katie is really having a vacation on the New York Times' dime here. Yes. She's really doing a lot. She's going to she's going to Surrey. She's like flying to Surrey. She's like going to Minnesota. She's like getting questions answered about herself. She's like doing some like I love everything that Katie's doing.
She's awesome. Evidently, it says in her byline on this article that her previous contribution to New York Magazine was an article about van life. So that's all you need to know right there. You know what I mean? Right?
You know how obsessed I am about these van life channels. I want to meet Katie. She sounds lovely.
She sounds
Katie
awesome.
Weaver, hit us up.
Oh, I highly recommend reading this article too, because it's written delightfully. She has a really wonderful take on this. Anyway, okay, so here's some questions.
Let's find out if I'm about to have my psychotic break. I've felt it coming, but I'm not sure.
Here we go. She doesn't share all the questions, but I'm going to ask you all the ones she does share. Here's the first one. Does it often happen that nearly every thought immediately and automatically suggests an enormous number of ideas?
Does it often happen?
Mm-hmm. That nearly every thought.
It happens quite a bit. Yeah, I'll say it happens. I'll say it happens quite a bit. I already know where this test is going, and I hate it. This happens quite a bit. Okay.
On occasions, have you seen a person's face in front of you when no one was in fact there?
What do you mean by in front? Like how close does it like are we talking Blumhouse in front where I open my eyes and it's like right up against me? Like, or are we talking like I don't know, like 5-6 feet down in the room? Like I think somebody's
I don't know which one's worse. 5-6 feet down seems more psychotic to me.
Does it?
A little bit.
Well, like they're always
okay. All right.
Not always, but I've a couple times, like out of the corner of my eye or whatever. Sure.
Question 3. When in the dark, do you often see shapes and forms, even though there's nothing there?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think I do. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
I think everybody does that. All right. Here's question 4. I love this one. Have you wondered whether the spirits of the dead can influence the living?
No.
Okay.
No, right. I think that's the first one I've gotten right.
This is the last one that she shares, and this is my favorite one. Are your thoughts sometimes so strong that you can almost hear them?
Yes. Yeah, that's 4 out of 5. I'm 4 out of 5. I'm 4 out of 5 heading for a psychotic break. I know. I'm not dumb. I'm aware of what these questions mean.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say about Katie Weaver as a writer. I think she cherry picked these questions.
Well, definitely. Yes.
I think she cherry picked these questions to make unless you didn't get a lot. Like, what were your answers?
I didn't get as many yeses as you did, but I got some yeses.
What'd you get? Get like 2? I bet you got 2.
I got 3 yeses.
Okay, because you don't worry about ghosts.
I don't worry about ghosts. No, I definitely can hear my thoughts sometimes. In the dark, I see shapes and forms, and I've sometimes seen a person's face, but again, it's not like super right in front of me. I don't get the thing that you get where every thought gets ideas. I wish I did. That'd be nice.
No, I literally take medication, so that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of the problem, right?
Well, Katie reports that there were 30 total questions and she got 9 yeses.
Okay.
Which resulted in a moderate to high chance of a psychotic break.
I bet here's the other thing I'm going to say about this test. I bet it's outmoded and outdated. We're living hey, you can't just say we're living in unprecedented times and then go ahead and say that all of these things have been set by precedent. I bet everybody's test scores on these things have gone up quite a few points over the last couple of years, particularly when people were isolated. When we were self-isolating, I bet everybody went up by 3 or 4 points on these.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it would be interesting to see somebody having taken the test in like the early part of 2019. Yeah. And then again now.
Also, Katie Weaver's not my doctor. Fuck off, Katie Weaver. You can't tell me.
She wasn't. It was more this Mason dude. But anyway.
I still want to chat with Katie Weaver, but also fuck off, Katie Weaver. You can't.
We've arrived to the moment where I'm going to reveal what happens when she goes inside. Okay. So she's going to spend 3 hours in there. It's like the
end of the game, and it's just all of her friends saying "Happy Birthday, Katie."
Yeah, it's this big surprise party in there.
Spoilers for the 30-year-old movie, The Game.
So she says she reports that once she crossed the threshold into the room, Stephen J. Orfield brings her into the room. They're walking on the mesh. She said his voice immediately sounded far away as the wedges absorbed his sound waves.
Now, Orfield has no qualifications of any kind for anything.
He just bought the place, man. No, he's not.
Ain't that the story of America?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah. No, he's the carnival barker of this tale right now. I
love this for him.
So she says an oral illusion, AURAL, manifested where it sounds like someone's whispering right next to your ear, even when they're standing far away, which is pretty wild. And then she was given a choice of whether he was going to leave the chamber and leave her there for 3 hours by herself. She was given the choice of whether she wanted the lights on or off.
Woo!
And I want to present. Do? Yeah, I want to present it to you. She does not report whether most people do it on or off, but I would like to know what you would do. Lights on or off.
If my goal is to be in there as long as possible and make it as comfortable as possible, I think I want to limit my possible hallucinations to auditory only. And I want to keep the lights on. That's what I think. I think if the lights are off and I'm here and I'm dealing with like all of this lack of input from one of my major senses, I think I want to keep the other ones operating on the level if I'm trying to set a record.
I think I would be much more inclined to leave the lights on as well, but mostly because I'd be scared. I think if you're like, I'm deprived, like you're saying, if I'm depriving one sense completely, do I want to deprive another sense to hone in on that? Pal Katie, though, she goes lights off, bro. She went lights off.
Katie Weaver came to play. Katie Weaver got that Times money and she's like, I'm spending every dime and I'm living every minute.
She did. She went lights off and she decided to take advantage of the blanket and lay down to start.
Do you think the Times pays on a net 30 or a net 60? How long do you think it takes to get that money back if you're doing something for the Times?
I'm sure it's net 30. You know,
yeah, you'd like to think so.
A quick turnaround, baby. I had to pay to read this article. You know what I'm saying?
You'd like to think so, but I bet they leave you hanging.
Times. So she describes being very worried once the lights go out that her pen is going to stop working to take notes, and she's going to not know that it's not working.
That's right. She turned the lights out, but all she brought in with her was a notebook to take notes.
Yeah. So she talks a lot about how she starts writing notes and then she's like, I will never know if this pen runs out of ink while I'm writing. I don't have any notes when I get out of here. It's very funny. It's ridiculous. Very charming.
You can feel the difference between a pen that's working and a pen that's gone dry. Come on, Katie Weaver. Now, what you won't know is you won't know if you're writing on the lines, if your handwriting makes any sense, if it's actually going to be legible. But come on, you're going to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the pen runs out of ink, come on, Katie Weaver.
I think you would be able to feel it, but maybe I don't know what kind of pen she's using. Maybe it's one of those, maybe it's a Bic. I don't know. There's a special. I don't know. What she's using.
I think you're going to feel it, but that's okay. What else? But here's the other thing. These are just the wild things that are running through her mind as she's nervous.
Yes. So here I will read you exactly what she says the moment she lays down. She says, once supine, I experienced the unique and briefly frightening sensation that my ears were traveling up very fast in an elevator while the rest of my body fell gently toward earth.
Ooh.
I had the distinct feeling of my ear canals filling with an inrushing silence that was somehow thicker than the quiet I had first noticed in the chamber.
A silence thicker than the quiet is also my favorite Death Cab album. Go on.
It's a good one. She said within seconds, though, this ceased. and everything sounded, or rather continued to have no sound, exactly the same as before. So she had this, like, right when she laid down, it was like very intensely quiet, but then it stopped being quiet. And then she describes like waiting for that gurgle of the blood. She's like, I wanted to hear my blood. Where's that blood sound? And she doesn't hear it. She says it's intensely quiet, but she doesn't hear her blood. So she starts whipping her head back and forth to try to make her blood slosh around in her head.
Yes. Like when you get the water in your ears from the lake or the pool or whatever.
Yes. She says, I detected no liquid movement, but my swishing hair was very loud. So she could like hear her hair.
Her hair was loud.
Yeah. And then she goes, you know what else was loud? Massaging my scalp, raising my eyebrows. Chomping my teeth.
Eyebrows.
She said, chomping my teeth produced a resonant sound inside my head. So she starts doing all these experiments of just like moving her face muscles and not like getting up and moving around, but just trying to hear her insides.
Like a close up in like a Adult Swim cartoon when they do like a close up of a character and
like
the
a Ren and
character,
Stimpy.
Yeah, and the character is like thirsty and they open their mouth and it's like, and like you can see the inside and it's making like dry noises and cracking sounds. Oh my Lord, I hate it.
She said she kind of lost track of time, how long she was in there. That's to be expected, right? You don't know how long you've been in there. But at a certain point, she thinks it's about 2 hours in. She starts to perceive a crack of light where the insulation doesn't quite meet the wall. And she starts like imagining if that light is something other than what it is. But she realizes, oh, it's just a crack of light.
Yeah.
And then
if it was even there.
Yeah. And then at a certain point, the door opens. Stephen J. Warfield walks back in and says, hey, you broke the record. And she's like, oh, I didn't go insane. I didn't hear the sound of my own gurgles. I had some strange experiences, but it was like pretty much underwhelming. Pretty underwhelming.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not surprised. Well, but here's a question, and I don't know if she answers this. How's her intestinal health?
Oh, you think there might have been more gurgling if she had been had a little less fiber in her diet?
Yeah, Ashkenazi Jew here. How is her stomach health? Because I'll tell you this, I probably have more gurgles than a Katie Weaver does.
Yeah.
I'd probably
Your gurgles
get more,
may vary.
Yeah, I might get more grossed out by my gurgles than she does. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you get grossed out from your gurgles already without an anechoic chamber.
Buddy, that's the other thing that Katie Weaver's not answering in this article is, does she often dream of just being a brain in a robot body?
Right.
That's another one, right? Like, I don't know
Fair
where
question.
she's from. You know, here's the thing about van life. People who do the van life also tend to be a little more connected to nature and to the self than maybe you and I are. And they don't want to be a robot body that's completely silent and works without flaws.
Mm-hmm,
you know, so maybe we would go a little crazier than her in there. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very subjective, very personal account, but I do think that maybe she's a little more well-adjusted than you and me. I mean, most people are.
Do you remember when we were thinking about going and doing one of those float tanks and we chickened out?
Yeah, I do.
Like, we literally chickened out.
We did go into the freeze chamber, though, together.
We went to a freeze chamber. But
do you remember how much we screamed?
Yeah.
We screamed a lot.
We screamed a lot. They said after we got out of the freeze chamber, we were in two separate freeze chambers. And we had to be in our underwear in the freeze chamber. Yeah. And we came out of the freeze chamber and they said it was more screaming than they had ever heard.
Yeah, that's
and they
true.
were like,
it sounds like we're doing a bit, but we're not doing a bit. That's just the God's honest truth.
No, well, that's the thing is because we were there shooting a video, we were shooting a pilot for something, and for like this science show that we wound up never doing. But they came out and they were like, oh, well, you were screaming a little bit, you know, because of the cameras and for the bit, and I was like, no, I wasn't.
No, we were.
I didn't do that for you.
The fear, yeah.
I didn't do that for you. I did it because. chilly.
It was cold and you couldn't see anything in there.
No, all you could see was like the Mr. Freeze gas.
Yeah.
That he keeps his wife in. It was like,
Yeah.
that's what it was like to be Nora Freeze. And then they were like, oh, another thing that we'd like you to do is go to one of those float tanks. And you and I both said, absolutely not.
No, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
I would do it now, though.
You know what? It's interesting. What do you think changed? You think it's COVID that changed you?
No, maybe. Whenever somebody says, did COVID change this about you? You can never really say no. Because here's the thing. Regardless of how COVID went for you, it was a strange and unique and odd time. And so you can never say that it didn't affect you in some way. You can only say, I think it might have added, it might have added a bit to it. But I think it's more just like, I'm what, 6 more years of therapy and just life down the road than I was when we started this podcast.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. You just,
so now I think sitting for 40 minutes and floating in silence with my own thoughts. Yeah, I'm probably cool with it.
Well, you did so much more meditation now. I mean, not that you're bragging, but you've done so much more.
I would never brag, but thank you for bringing that up because it's not something I talk about very much, but I do meditate and it's not a big deal and it doesn't make me better than anybody, but I do meditate. So she had an underwhelming time. I wonder if she even fell asleep and didn't know.
Well, she talks a lot about her trying not to fall asleep because she was saying that is, she's prone to that. So she talks a lot about trying not to fall asleep in there.
Katie Weaver is like diametrically opposite to everything about us. Katie Weaver, I bet is one of those people that's just like, man, I don't know what it is. You know, I get on a plane or I get in a car and I immediately just zonk right out. The second my head hits the pillow, pillow at night. And I'll tell you what, I try to listen to a podcast to go to sleep, but I'm asleep before they even get through the beginning. Fuck you, Katie Weaver. And shout out to everybody who's trying to fall asleep right now and is an hour into this show and is just like, you've got 4 podcasts queued up to get your 3 hours of sleep tonight. I see you. I feel you. I know who you are.
I would be worried that Katie would get upset hearing this, but she didn't get it this far. You know, she's already sound asleep.
No, Katie, somebody's like, hey, Katie, they talked about your article on this podcast. And she's like, oh, I'll put it on my thing to listen to. And then she went off and had a fulfilling day and forgot about it. Which is nothing that we would ever do.
No.
Somebody would say, hey guys, somebody mentioned you. And we'd be like, oh God. Oh God, no. And we'd think about it for a day and a half. If not even the podcast, somebody would just be like, oh yeah, I was out with these people the other night and we were talking about you. And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Who the fuck are you?
Accurate. That's accurate. Anyway, yeah, she was a little disappointed by it. And I think that's it's kind of certainly debunking the whole, TikTok rumor that you can only spend 45 minutes and there's just 3 hours.
The and it was pasta of it all. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
I bet 90% of the people that post or repost that stuff don't even believe it. They just love it for the horror story of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. She said, my time in there had been as sedative as a spa visit, only much more expensive and uncomfortable.
Get fucked, Katie. How dare you? How dare you?
I think she's awesome.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
She did that kind of science we love, Anthony, the self-experimentation.
Yeah.
I love that. Jump in there. Do it.
I bet we would be a little underwhelmed by it, in all honesty. I think we would. Stuff like this, especially when it gets built up in your head, or like, I want to say the first time I heard about this place was like maybe 2013. I want to say like there was like a Veritasium video where he spent some time in there or something. And that, I think this is one of those places that kind of goes viral every couple of years because it's a fascinating thing to exist.
Yeah.
But I've never heard such an in-depth, deep dive into what it's actually about. But I think things like this, it's like when you go visit a place and you're like, you have a list of the things that you want to see because you saw them on like Instagram or something. And then you go there and you're like, oh, this is the place where everybody stands to take that picture of them with the thing. And it was pretty cool. But in all honesty, if I had the 4 hours back, I'd probably go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe, but I would like to hear ultimate silence just once. I think that's worthwhile. Not because it's going to drive me crazy or I want to set a record or anything like that. I just want to know what it's like to hear ultimate silence.
$600 an hour. You can go to Minneapolis. There you go. Boom.
Wow. For only $600 an hour, I could be in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I'm such an asshole. New year and I'm an asshole already. I've got energy, man. It's been raining. I've been cooped up and I've got energy. I don't know what it is. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Would you all go into the ultimate silence?
Yeah. How long do you think you could last?
Yeah, let us know. You can do so either on the subreddit. That's a great place. I think the best place to share any opinions with anybody ever is probably our Discord.
It is. It's a delightful place with delightful humans. And it only costs you $1 a month to be part of it. How cool is that?
Yeah. People are on there talking about all kinds of wonderful things, doing all kinds of wonderful stuff. And it's all the money from the Patreon goes to directly supporting us and helping us to make the show. You can find that at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. And as you give a little more, you get a little more, like extra episodes, extra audio, and all kinds of fun stuff. Check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. I'm fucking talking shit on everybody nonstop, and I say that I can make it in the quiet room. This guy just can't stop talking shit for 5 seconds? Really? Okay. Bold.